Are you ready? Let's do this.
Yeah.
Blah! Well, hi friends. It has been a very long time since I've made a video on this channel, but if you haven't noticed yet, I have a friend here. This is another human being. I actually go out and talk to people sometimes. This is Will. He is a street photographer, street style photographer. Is that what you would call yourself?
Sure.
Fashion.
Sure. We will go with that.
Okay. So I've been getting to know him lately, and on a video I posted a while back, I talked about I worked on a video project with him about his street photography. And so we've been, becoming friends and getting to know each other. And I was just like, dude, I want to take this channel to a new place and I need your help because I can't just talk to myself forever.
I need a big rock. We need two people to lift up the big rock.
Exactly.
Yeah, one person's not enough.
Exactly.
And you cut your hands, so.
Right. Or if
you need some more arms.
Yeah. Or if there's like a really high light bulb, one person can screw in the light bulb, but they can't get up there unless there's somebody to hold them up.
Or if you get locked out of your apartment and you need somebody to lift you up to get onto your porch.
That's illegal.
So you can climb in.
That's illegal. Okay. So so we want to talk basically the way that we want to format this is we want to talk about different topics regarding street photography, specifically street portrait photography, because that's what we're into. But obviously that can apply to anything, any kind of street photography, any photography in general. I think that these principles go across the board. So what we're going to talk about today is finding good framing on the street, in the midst of like the craziness that goes on, because it's a very quick thing. I'll always say you have like 30 seconds generally to work with somebody and figure out how you want the photo to work and all that stuff. It's a very quick process. So, Will, what kind of methods have you used to help you get good framing in street photography?
Okay, I mean, it kind of begins with,
quickly.
I think...
good framing quickly.
Yeah. I think for me it starts with when I'm out looking for people, not just looking for people, but looking for frames. So sometimes if you're walking behind someone who's going to be your subject, it sounds really creepy. Like I'm stalking them, but sometimes you just kind of keep following them for a while until you come to a spot that's the compositional framework's nice and the lighting's, nice and even. And that's kind of a good first step. The biggest thing for me is realizing if you're in a bad spot for composition, if your subject would be willing to walk with you for a little bit. That really helped me when I realized that most people are willing to give you a little bit more time if you ask for it, and they're willing to go a little bit farther. And then that really helps. That, and if you live in a smaller place, having kind of some go-to compositions in certain spots that just work if you're on a tight frame or the person's kind of fidgety and you literally have one or two frames to get it right. And some people, you take their picture and then they're like already walking away from you. So
is it kind of like this idea of, for me, one of my go-tos would be a nice wall, because it eliminates all the distraction, and you have the ability to focus in on the subject. Obviously, it'd be nice if you could find this really nice street scene with a sunset, but sometimes all you have is a wall. Is it that kind of thing when you talk about your go-to compositions?
I think so. Or just like, say, where we live, there's a main drag where everyone's always on. So I tend to like to isolate my subjects. I like to not have anyone else in the background. So a lot of times there's certain side streets that I tend to lean to. That's because just really, I can't stand it. I'll go in and look at my picture. I'm like, there's that person just looking right at the camera in the corner there, and it's so terrible. So I'll take a lot of people on certain side streets that might have, two diagonal elements pulling in like a line of trees in the side of a building and kind of pull in to create a framing element and to kind of isolate the subject out. So I definitely agree, like having go-to spots. For me, a lot of it's having go-to spots that remove the element of having to fight other people being in the frame, be it using a wall or using a side street.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I believe it all comes down to having these methods that you think of beforehand and are kind of built into you by the time you get out on the street. And I think, not to say that you don't learn while you're out there, right? Not to say that, because you're going to learn everything while you're out there. You just can't anticipate what it's going to be like to walk up to somebody and be like, oh, okay, now I have to figure out a way to take a good picture of this person. Some go-tos for me are wide shots, tight shots. So kind of, always trying to find a nice wide shot if you can, and always trying to focus in on some details and like take time to do that, because that's the thing. You want to move so fast, you just often don't take the time you need to take to do anything that you need to do. That can be the difficulty. And also, the thing, I think the hardest part is being super intentional and not skimping out, maybe is the word, on finding a good background. Not just like going, okay, well, I'm just going to settle for this ugly street thing, like whatever. There's like 1,000 trash cans in the background and there's a person
and a
peeing.
porta-john.
Why is there a person peeing? A porta-john, right?
There's a whole line of porta-johns.
Yeah, but then the person's peeing on the porta-john. So that gets strange. You don't want that in the back of your nice fashion thing with the nice lapels and all those things that you talk about. No. Yeah, you don't want any of that. So so being intentional. I love what he said about being willing to ask somebody to walk with you a little bit so that you can find that framing. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and I've learned a little bit more about that from him because I watched him go, would you mind walking with me, up this road to this staircase and all this stuff. And I think you do that very well. So I think for me, like I said, it's like finding these methods that are almost muscle memory, and that can help you to use any situation and make it work. And I think that's what street photography is all about. Is like that's what I love about it, is the spontaneity of trying to figure out what the heck to do. Like when you're faced with this absolutely, horrible set of options to work with,
right.
You have to figure out how to make it work really quick. And I think that rush is what a lot of street photographers like. So anyway.
No, I completely agree. And I think like linking back to your point is like having the methods are kind of like having my spots I shoot. There's like this idea that, okay, under this circumstance, yeah, it's great if you can find like, oh, this dress goes with this backdrop, and then there's these elements here and here. But when you're on a tight time frame, the light, you have to, you can't control the lighting, so you're having, maybe you have a beautiful frame, but if you put the person in that frame, the picture's completely ruined. Mm-hmm. The lighting's just horrendous on them. So I think that kind of muscle memory, that thing where you know what you're going to do, even though it's hard to almost practice these things without just learning from your mistakes. So I think like going back and looking at your other compositions you've done and see like, oh, this is a good composition. I didn't really think about it, but this worked. Because when you're on the street and you finish shooting somebody, then you just look through your camera and you're like, or you're really happy, but it's hard to, in the moment, really look at those images, reconsider them, reframe, and go through that whole process in street photography. I think that's hard for anyone who's been shooting a year or 20 years.
Yeah, and I think the holy grail of good composition is when you have these colors that match the subject so well. It's so hard to find. You think people, you'll scroll through Tumblr and you'll be like, wow, these walls must be everywhere with like the red that matches the red on, like the person has a rose in their hair or something like that. But you go out and you're like, where's the red? This is so hard, and it makes it very hard to find those kinds of things. So that's another one of those things that can be very hard. But I think when you do find that, it creates this beautiful image. And so I think a lot of it comes down to being super intentional and being able to like zone in really hard on that and go, okay, I need to take the time to make this background work, and not just, because it's so easy to just kind of settle for like a mediocre background.
It's a very easy, I think it's the easiest thing to
especially when the person's uncomfortable, right?
Right. So it's just like, lighting, generally after you've been shooting a while, you pay attention, like, okay, this person's well lit, this person is not well lit. You understand that pretty quickly, and you realize like that's what you focus in on the person, you focus in on the subject. So the composition and the background kind of fades away when you're like in the moment. So I do think it's really easy to just kind of cheat out on that. And I think you see a lot of street photography that just lacks any sort of compositional element, because it's hard to bring together everything, and that's an easy one to kind of skimp out on if you have the person's subject and the overall frame's okay looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the best work in the world is when those two things like just totally mesh together perfectly.
Absolutely.
You end up with this beautiful composition as far as the background goes, with the beautiful subject. With the perfect, whether it's like India. I feel like you just go to India and everything's perfect there, right? They have all these colorful clothes.
It looks that way.
Everything's colorful. Yeah, I know. So anyway, I think that's what I try to strive for is always trying to find a way to mesh those things together perfectly. So, is there anything else you want to say about framing on the street?
I would say that covers a good bit of it.
I think we did some good stuff there. I think that was a good moment.
That's a good moment.
Set of moments.
Yeah.
Touch your arm. That was nice.
That was a nice
Did you
moment
feel that?
too. I felt it all.
That was a nice moment. Okay, guys, I hope this was inspiring to you, and if it was inspiring to you, please let us know, because we want to know. And also, like if you like this, and subscribe if you liked it that much, and everyone give Will a hug in the comments.
Or if you see me on the street.
There should be a hug emoji. Is that a thing?
I'm sure there's something like a teddy bear. I think a teddy bear would be the same thing as hugging somebody.
Just a thumbs up. It's a good black thumbs up. I don't even think you can do that on YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, we love you guys. Have a lovely day. I hope that we inspired you today, like I said, and we will see you next time, and we're going to try to do these more. But I hope that you guys, hope all my subscribers didn't go away in that moment of absence for me. But we're gonna try to make these pretty consistent if we can. So bye guys, see ya. Seat of your pants kind of situation. I was like, how do we end this?